Hallo me lads and lasses, we are on the edge of global war and you are hopefully on the edges of your seats. We will create some upper floor now and it's gonna be exciting. As you can see, I'm zooming in on this masks node group and I'll tap into it, who would have thought? And if you find the group output, you will see this great boolean that we've created before, upper floor. If I check it, all the middle floor pieces will be exchanged by upper floor pieces. So we'll have to plug in something in here, obviously. Well, what could that be? Let's start with an input node, and there is this thing called position. Now with the new Blender version, at least the one I have right now, you can just take a node output, drag it somewhere, let go, and then you can type something in and, I don't know, select it and it's automatically connected. Love it, great feature, especially since I'm not all that familiar now with where all the new nodes are. But I know one node, and it's called separate XYZ, which can be found under vector. And we will need that one as well. Let's connect them up. Now we can access the Z value, which is the vertical axis. And there's this compare node. If I search for compare, this time I'm searching because I'm not actually sure where it is. And we can plug it in and compare a float value to the Z position. Let's just straight up connect it to upper floor and set it to equal for now. Well, it's set to 0, which should probably be the ground floor, so as expected, nothing happens. But as soon as I raise this value to maybe 5, well, I think maybe we've gone too high now. Let's increase the height of our building. Yeah, there it is. We have a single upper floor, and we can now change its position. But let's rather set this to greater than. No, that was wrong. Let's rather set this to less than for some reason. And well, we're done, you might say. If you're an idiot, the truth is that now if I change the height to something lower than whatever this value is, or even equal, then the upper floors disappeared because they're just virtually there, but not actually. And I don't like this. I don't want to adjust two values whenever I want to work with the upper floor. So we gotta have to do some math. We somehow need this height value inside of our group node here. And you know, there's this group input, so let's just go to group and group input and disappointment because this height value doesn't appear. If I tap out of this and take a look at this group input node, well, there it is, but why isn't it in my group? Because this group input counts for the entirety of our node setup, and the group input inside of the masks value just counts for this group. And unfortunately, the only way we can do it is just, I don't know, duplicate our master group input, bring it down here, tap into the masks, bring up the side panel with N, and add in a new input, which is now an input for this particular node group. I will call it height. Hit enter and change it to integer, and now it appeared here. Now the only thing left to do is tap out of it and just connect up the height to this group. I actually think it's a terrible process, and at some point they should change it. I'm really hoping for some kind of, I don't know, window here where I can just drag and drop different variables that I've declared at some point. But you know, a boy can dream. Now we have two of these masks groups, so I'm just going to plug in the second height to this one as well. So just to be sure that everything works. I think we are ready, right? Let's tap back into it. And I will need a math node, which can be found under utilities. And I want to take this height value and I want to subtract a number from that. And I want to plug this one into our value here, right? Right now nothing happens because we've subtracted a relatively low number, but as soon as I surpass a value of 2, or well, exactly 2, an upper floor appears. We can set this from less than to less than or equal. This will make it a little bit nicer, I think, because, well, now 2 actually represents 2 floors. Perfect, we're done. Let's duplicate this height thing, just hit plus, and I will call that one upper floors. Let's tap out of this and connect it straight up into the group input. Now I'm thinking, do I actually also have to connect it with the second group? Maybe it was a bad idea to put it into 2 groups, but I just like the cleanliness. So let's connect this one up as well, just to be sure, so that both masks group nodes are the same. And now this thing appeared here, and now I can do nothing apparently, and it didn't work at all, and I feel like an idiot. Let's tap back in. Oh, apparently I didn't connect it. So that's obviously an important step. Connect the upper floors to the second value of the subtraction. Now let's try it out. Great. Another thing you might notice with your keen eyes is that this thing here has appeared. I have no idea what it is. I'm gonna be honest with you, I haven't read it up. I'm too lazy, but it still works, so I can still change the value. So that's great for me. I'm done. I don't need any more information, Blender. Thanks, but no thanks. Next up, yesterday I've uploaded a video about modulo, or possibly pronounced modulo, because I don't know. You will need it today, Go there and watch it. No, you actually don't have to watch it because it is completely unimportant to understand how it works. If you're interested though, I think I've summed it up pretty nicely there, if I do say so myself. And we're going to use modulo in order to access those rings. So first of all, let me remove all the upper floors again because, well, they will be in the way. Let's increase the height again. And let's take a look at the general building. Now, we do have this thing here called ring. And if I check it, same thing as the upper floors, all the middle floor models will be exchanged by ring models. And yet again, we will do some comparison to figure out where the rings go, but I think maybe for now, let's be a little bit clean and nice. Hit Ctrl J on this one, hit F2 and rename this frame to, what was that, upper floors? There we are. Bada bing, bada boom, as they say in the United States of America. Now, I will duplicate this less than or equal node, and you know what? Let's just grab these. Let's duplicate everything. Come on, why not? And bring them down here. Alt P, separate them from the group. There we go. Because we're probably going to reuse some of these nodes. And now plug this one into ring. What's good already is this setup without the subtraction node. Let's remove it and let's set this one to equal this comparison. And now we have the same setup as we had in the beginning, the one where I can take like an entire floor and turn it into something else. This is great. Now I can change this value to, well, put a ring on the building, like I'm marrying it, and that's why I called it ring as well. Now, how will I achieve this wonder? To, instead of just selecting one single floor, selecting multiple floors in an even distributed fashion? Well, this is now where modulo comes into place, because this separate XYZ outputs a constant rising value, which starts at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and goes up to potentially infinity, or just the height of 14 as it is set up right now. So instead of comparing it to multiple values by somehow doing some magic and plugging in multiple values in the A, I'm just going to convert this constantly rising value into a repeating pattern using the modulo node. And now we can finally take the subtract node, drag it back in here, let it reconnect, and instead of subtract, set it to modulo. There we are. Now, let's start with some value like 3, for example. And as you've learned in the video that you've definitely watched on my channel called something about modulo, I forgot the name, the value we compare it to can never be greater or equal to the modulus, which in this case is 3. So do we just put it to some arbitrary random value that changes? No, we're just going to put it to be 0, because 0 will always be part of the equation at some point whenever there's a multiple of our modulus. So we're done. Now I can take this value and use it to determine the frequency of our ring. So if I now put it to 5, every 5th floor will be a ring. And if I now put it to 2, every other floor will be a ring. And that's it. Again, quite simple, just a little bit difficult to wrap your head around it, but like in terms of node, it's 3 nodes. No, it's 4 nodes. I can't even count to 4. Now I see the mistakes in my way. I should have also duplicated this group input. Let's just do that. Alt P to disconnect it here, because obviously we also want to put this value that determines the frequency into a slot here. So bring up the side panel again with N, hit plus again, and this time we are going to call it ring frequency. Wonderful. Connect it up. This time I won't make the same mistake again, and tap out of this. And now we have gotten a new input here that we can yet again put into the group input, and it appears. And yet again, I'm going to scroll down here and also connect this one up. the new input hasn't appeared on this node. Is there some way to reload it, is the big question. Ha! So whenever you have a duplicate of a node and something didn't appear in the other node as well, you can just hit that one. Let's connect this one up as well. And now we should be able to control the frequency using this value here. Let's quickly go into group and under the inputs, select this rings frequency and give it a minimum of 2, because I don't really want the rings to be every part of, you know what, no, I don't want to take creative control away from my user. So let's put it at a minimum of 1. So if they're crazy, they can convert all the floors to rings, but let's give it a maximum of something reasonable, like, I don't know, 100. That would imply that they have a building with more than 100 stories and they want rings. So, you know, I don't want them to be too crazy. Great, so we have rings now, we have upper floors which should override the rings. No, they don't. Well, do I want that or do I not want that? You know, I think I do not want that. The thing really just comes down to the order in which I fed these things here into these switch nodes. So apparently I have fed in the rings after I've fed in the upper floors, which means that I have effectively overwritten them. So that's luckily an easy fix, and it's good that we can do it together, so you see how you can actually change up the building style. So this, oh my god, I've destroyed everything. So this one is the one that determines the rings, and this one is the one that determines the upper floors. So really the only thing we should do now is just switch those two nodes around. Let's switch these inputs here. And now let's switch in those true inputs from here to there and from there to ring. Wow, I've destroyed it completely. Oh, my boy. My boy, I think it wasn't necessary to switch these after all. I'm sorry. There we are. I can see your disappointed head shaking right now. Now it overrides the upper floors and we can change the height. So we are getting along very rapidly. There's actually just one more thing that is completely disconnected, which is this V-gap. And I tell you what, this V-gap thing really is a pain, but you know, we gotta do it together, right? We will hold out. We will be strong together. In like 2 days or something, because I've just realized after being done with cutting that this video is like 35 minutes long, so I don't want to keep the individual parts at so varying lengths. So, you know, at least it's already cut so I can upload it pretty quickly. But at the end of this video, I wanted to quickly talk about something very fast. There's right-click select. This is like this kind of thing where you can submit ideas to Blender. I don't know how official it is, but it's hosted on the Blender website, so I guess to a certain degree, right? And I've submitted this topic, which is specifically for this kind of building nodes idea. You can read it up. I've put it in the description. I have no idea how this Blender development process works and how diligent they are looking at these kind of user suggestions. But if it helps at all, to, you know, kind of incline you to upvote this idea and share it, you know, I'm happy to take it because it would be quite useful. The principal idea is that I want to be able to have like one master collection for my geometry building node thing and change an entire building by just, you know, clicking one button essentially. Right now, to change out all the individual building parts, you would have to change like 10 collections, which is really annoying. And in theory, it should be easier. It just doesn't work right now. So I have made this suggestion with what I think needs to be done in order for it to work. And someone, bless him, called Mystery Pancake, has actually created a node, and apparently a working node that does what I need. It just needs to be implemented into Blender, and I don't really know how this works. I assume that some bored Blender associate is just scrolling through these kind of topics and at some point randomly deciding this one gets in, this one doesn't get in. So if we have like a Blender developer blog account or something, I do have one, you know, I'm not asking you to create one. If you already happen to have one, I've put links to both things in the description, so you could possibly upvote the thing I've written, and you can possibly give like a like token or however. I don't know how this works. Come on, let's be real here. But you can award token somewhere in this list and follow the topic or someone. Maybe the Blender developers will put my wish into the thing. I don't know. I hope this doesn't count as tampering with the community or someone, you know. It's not like dislike bombing, it's more like bombing. It's a little bit more positive. Have a great evening, my boys and girls as well. Have a nice evening, my boys and girls. There we go.